Welcome back to Retro Inc. podcast with myself, Adam.
And me, Andy. Hello.
Hello there. So, we've done parts 1 and 2, going through the first trilogy of movies, all directed by George Lucas, completely CG almost. And then we went on to the OT, and now we're on the final 3 films. Obviously not episode 9, but we'll speculate a little on that. We're going to leave out the standalones, Rogue One and Solo. 1 because we've covered Solo, and 2 because we are just going through episodes 1 and 9. So I think we could perhaps do a Rogue One separate episode, don't you think?
Oh yeah, very much so, mate. Easily talk for that one, over that one for an hour or so.
Sure, absolutely. So, when was the last time you saw Force Awakens?
About a week ago, I think.
A week ago?
Yeah.
Well, mine was about 4 hours ago.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So, and I made it up to a certain point that I thought, I don't think I can watch anymore because I'm probably going to get a little emotional. Because there are a couple of scenes in that do kind of, hit the heart.
Yeah, yeah.
So, first of all, we'll hear the trailer, and we'll be back after that.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
So, when that trailer was released, mate, can you remember the hype?
Oh yeah, I do remember the hype, and I remember where I was when I first saw it. I was at work, and we knew there was something coming, didn't we? The day that it came out, and I was working with my very good friend Charlie, and around the building there was rumblings that it was happening, and I went running up and I grabbed him. I said, "Come with me," and we went out the back of the building and we watched it on our phones, and we jumped up and down in a warm embrace, and watched it probably about 10 or 11 times on the bat. So yeah.
I think it was around 3 a.m. when it got released, and I remember setting my alarm for it, and it was just on repeat for about. Well, I mean, I don't think I got sleep after that, to be honest. It was just, you just freeze framing, and I remember just screenshotting every. I just kept click, click, so I could just get all the images, and I just, oh my god, seeing the Falcon bank with those TIE fighters following it, I think was the highlight of it. But it just still, it's still up there in my top 6 Star Wars films, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, mine is very high up for me. Probably my top 3. So
it's amazing that we've got JJ on board. He has given us this film, and if it wasn't JJ and they just said, "Oh, he's doing episode 9," I'd still be that excited for episode 9, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, very much, mate, very much.
We didn't get too many lens flares.
The JJ signature.
Yeah, we didn't get too many of them, but we got what we did get was a beautifully shot film.
Yeah, I think the thing is with JJ, as much as he's got his own style, he's a good enough director to know when and where to put those things. Yeah, I don't think he's one of those that's gonna. Let's put it this way: JJ has given us the truest form of Star Wars since the OT, with the Force Awakens, using practical effects, storyline, and feel. And I think he understands the franchise because he is a fan, and I think with that he knows not to go overboard with his own style and to more emulate what we expect and what we want.
Well, he gave us it. He gave us a fantastic opening crawl. He gave us that first shot of Kylo's ship.
Yeah.
And the way that was pointed and going across the screen was just fantastic. And then seeing those First Order troopers on board, that transport and the strobe lights. Oh man, it's just incredible.
Really cool.
So, once that had landed and we saw, the conversation between Poe and Larson Tekka, we knew we were going to get to see some Leia a little bit later on.
Yeah.
It was great. And the first shot of BB-8 was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But I think, to be honest, it's Kylo stopping that laser bolt that was the thing that just,
totally, man. That was the awe moment, wasn't it? I mean, when that film started, I remember sitting in that screen. Again, I went with Charlie to the midnight showing, and I haven't felt so much of a buzz at the cinema in all my life. It was amazing. It was a great event atmosphere. It felt like I was almost at a festival or something.
Yeah. The cinema foyer was packed, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was hundreds of people, cosplay, everything. We had the typical guy wearing a Star Trek outfit because it was ironic. But the film came on, and I sat there grinning from ear to ear for the first sort of 5-6 minutes. It wasn't until that moment that you just said, where he stops the bolt midair, that I kind of broke the smile into a face of awe and wonderment. Like, wow, what am I seeing here? This is amazing. This was up in the game somewhat. All of a sudden I was like, this is amazing. What am I watching?
Yeah, without skipping through the whole film instantly. I mean, seeing a new X-Wing, seeing a new villain, seeing a new droid, seeing a new hero, seeing new stormtroopers, all in the space of 2 minutes, and Captain Phasma, who was named after the film Phantasm, because Phantasm movie, which came out I think in sort of 1980,
79, I think
79. Big shiny ball with spikes on it. JJ got the kind of inspiration from that. I mean, just incredible. And then we move from the from Poe's capture and see, and also that dark moment when Phasma says the villagers, and then they all get wiped out. It's just like, oh my god. we knew the Empire then was, or the First Order was something to behold. We thought, here we go, we really do know that these guys mean business.
Yeah, we got a good little rogues gallery all within the first sort of 10 minutes of that movie, didn't we? And they really installed the power and the fear of the First Order. We went in there knowing exactly what we were in for.
I think Kasdan did a great job in that, really sort of putting us back into the frame that after the fall of the Empire, after Jedi, that we get them back with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Rey and BB-8, we get to see our heroine and our humble sort of lifestyle, and another slave, really. Another kind of Anakin feel. This is when I think at this point is when people started to look at this movie and go, oh, this is a bit like A New Hope. And I've seen many a video where there's been these comparison shots to and fro, but I do think that's slightly unfair, to be honest. I think it's the fact that it is a Star Wars film, and Star Wars films are going to have Death Stars, they're going to have X-Wings, they're going to have similarities, because that's the way it rolls.
Yeah.
And BB-8 rolls, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So going back as well, there was one thing that I noticed when I watched this the first time was Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, and how menacing he was, and I was actually blown away by his performance within the first 5 minutes. That whole scene in the village,
the voice, the helmet,
especially when he bends down opposite Poe. That, to me, that showed real...
It's a beautiful shot, that.
Yeah, the way he kind of leans down to him and he's just staring at him with the mask on. He has got so much expression for someone whose face you can't see in his body language. Adam Driver in these movies is by far one of the best parts.
Absolutely agree.
We come off the OT and the story of Vader, and let's be honest, Vader is known as one of the most recognised villains in the whole of cinema history. Yeah, of all time. You can show someone who's not seen Star Wars a picture of Darth Vader. They may get his name wrong, but they know who he is and where he's from. And I thought it was going to be hard to emulate that, and I think Adam Driver does a real damn good job of getting close to that status. I mean, we're yet to see how this pans out in the long run, but that, to me, as soon as he bent down, I mean, he'd obviously held the bolt at that point and everything, but when he bends down in front of him, there was a man there that was not scared. To me, he was in complete control of everything around him.
Only a grandson can replicate his grandfather.
It's hereditary.
Such a way. Yeah. So we get the whole escape from Jakku. And it's very consistent. The whole film, it has, if you look at it has literally dozens and dozens of amazing scenes in this. And I think one of the greatest scenes is when Finn and Rey leave in the Falcon, and that chase scene. When she sees that crash destroyer, she knows exactly its ins and outs. She knows exactly where she's going. But the fact that when they're on board and they get to chat, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing!" And she's like, "No, I don't know what I did and how I did it." And you think, "Well, how did she on earth did she fly the Falcon?"
Yeah.
This is when we start to sort of realise this girl's got something.
Do you know what? I didn't actually pick up on the Falcon part. When they're leaving, they're running from the First Order and that TIE fighter's blowing things up. And he's like, "What about that one?" She goes, "That one's garbage." I didn't pick up on that at the time. I mean, I was so caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
It was Charlie sitting next to me, bashing me on the leg. And I was like, what are you going on about? Just shut up and let me watch the film. And he's bashing me. And then all of a sudden,
film if she got in the quad jumper.
and then she went, "That one to do it." It panned to the Falcon. And I was just like, all right, I get you. And it was one of those moments. Absolutely fantastic how that was played in. So, but yeah.
I bet it must have been fantastic for Simon Pegg as well to be that character.
Oh, what a dream come true for someone like him from humble beginnings. I mean, I was a big fan of Spaced when it came out. And I mean, we're talking a guy that lives, breathes and eats sci-fi and Star Wars and Star Trek. And now this guy is in
Do you think we'll get Nick Frost? Do you think Nick Frost will get a look in, do you reckon?
I hope not. I hope not. Nick Frost is nothing without Simon Pegg. And yeah, it's one of those, isn't he? He's good, but as long as he's got his buddy on screen.
Yeah. So let's go back to Kylo, because we see that his tantrum, and this is where I think we really get to see how frustrated and pent up anger this guy has.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think.
But then we get the two troopers who turn around and walk away.
I love that. That bit had me in hysterics because
this film has a lot of humour in it.
And it's done really well because, I mean, that moment especially is, it kind of takes away from the actual, sort of situation there of what's really going on, because like I said, like Vader was always concise, knew what he was doing. And this is a young kid that is literally borderline psychotic. At that point when you see that happening, I mean, how much fear does his own staff have in him? And they will follow him blindly because they ain't going to argue with Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Because they know that this guy is on the edge, because essentially he will do anything to make him more powerful and more evil and more feared, like his grandfather. And yeah, when I saw that scene, I mean, them walking away kind of puts it on a happier note, because if you look at the bare roots of what's going on now,
That's pretty damn tense.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. You know, this guy's willing to smash up his own. I mean, if those two guys had walked in that room at that point and said to him, "Oh, sorry, Kylo, chicken's not on the menu tonight," they'd probably, they'd be end up in the trash compactor, wouldn't they?
Do you think Hux knows that Vader is his grandfather?
Yes, I do. But I think Hux also looks at him and sees exactly what I just said. A young lad that is willing to do whatever it takes to emulate that person. And he sees it from the other side of, he isn't Darth Vader. He's just a young lad that is just trying too hard. And he kind of looks down on him for that. And I think to Hux, he thinks like, you're not in charge. I'm the boss here. You know, you do what I say, and this obviously that dynamic changes over the course of that movie and the next one, to the point where you can see Hux is actually genuinely terrified of him, especially I think after, you know, the midway point of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We then flash to Finn and Rey going on board what they think is the First Order ship. And we find out it's not. And that meeting between Han and Rey is quite something. Well,
that moment where he walks on and says, "Chewie, we're home."
Now, I was just going to say,
yeah.
I mean, I think every single fan, when they saw that in the trailer, just yelped out loud with excitement.
I lost my bleep when that bit happened there. I was watching that with Charlie, and like I say, we watched this trailer, repeat. That particular part, I don't know how many times I watched that, because that to me felt more Star Wars than anything
else. Yeah, for a lot
I'd had since the OT, and I know, like I
may as well
enjoy the prequels.
Be with you at that point.
Yeah, and what I was more happy about was that was actually in the movie, because obviously we do get a lot of things these days that are thrown in for good measure, and I understand it, you know, like in the Rogue One trailer with the TIE fighter on the platform with Jyn, that was never going to be in the movie, that was just there for the trailer. That's cool, I get it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a style piece, isn't it? It's a tonal piece. That's what they do with some trailers, just to give you an idea of what's going to happen, and without giving away too much. And I thought that was kind of what we were going to get with that point, was that was just going to be Han and Chewie, you know, Han said, Chewie, we're home, and it was never going to be there. And when it happened in the movie, I was like, yeah, this is good, you know.
Powerful stuff, that, wasn't
it?
Yeah. So then we get the hologram. We get the hologram from BB-8 and the map.
Yeah.
And the quote, which I think is quite something.
I love this.
The Force and the Jedi, it's true, all of it. Which again is something that, you know, Han has never done before, is or recognised just quite how powerful the Force is and what it means to the galaxy. But the other part that I really love is once they're on board is the fact that we get, you know, the Kanji Club, and
tell that to Kanji Club,
and the Scottish guy with his Guardian guards. Now, I love those Guardian guards. I think they were amazing. I'd love to see them again because they look something else, don't they?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get an Underworld style series or something that these guys will turn up again. You know, Kanji Club and who's the other ones?
Well, Kanji Club, those guys, I don't know what they were called well, they were cool, I can't remember now. But anyway, those Kanji Club guys were from the Raid, weren't they?
Yeah.
So again, another little movie that JJ obviously loved. Well, he'd chuck those into the mix. Starkiller Base, mate, and Hologram Snoke.
Hologram Snoke.
Snoke was how many
cool.
theories did we get about Snoke?
Plagueis and yeah.
It's quite funny, really, now, isn't it? How far it all went.
Oh, well, as fans, we go down that rabbit hole and we go down it hard, don't we? We come out with all this sort of nonsense left, right, and centre.
He's just a dwarf.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the thing as well. Is it just status? Is he just pretending to
Is
be
it Mace
this looming,
Windu?
posing figure? Yeah, we
Well,
heard
we
it
heard
all,
the
didn't
lot.
we? Yeah. Grand Moff Tarkin, I think I heard at one point, and yeah. But I'm kind of glad. I'm glad we were wrong for a lot of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, we get onto Snoke in a bit.
It's a great villain.
Yeah.
Great villain.
But what was the other bit you just said to me was Snoke and
Hux, Kylo, the whole hologram thing.
the hologram. That was it. Yeah.
The hologram was just something else, haunting and menacing.
In my eyes, when I first watched that, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's just got a big hologram. You know, there's nothing. It's status and grandeur, isn't it? He's the people are watching this, but actually he's in a different room and he's just normal sized. All the theories were coming out, but to be honest, the first time I was watching this, I was too caught up in the story to really worry about who Snoke was at this point. Because we had, in my eyes, we had this great antagonist with Kylo Ren so far, and I think I was reading between the lines of Star Wars where I'm thinking Master and Apprentice. I didn't need to know who Snoke was at that point. And in my eyes, it was like, well, it doesn't matter if he's Plagueis, it doesn't matter if he's Windu, it doesn't matter if he's Vader even, you know, because even that came out, didn't it, because of the scar in the head and everything that changed the helmet. Yeah. To me, it didn't matter at that point because I'm thinking it's just Master and Apprentice. These gaps will be filled in at some point in the story. I was more interested in Kylo Ren, and I have been since these movies came out. I think Adam Driver is just flawless. To me, is flawless. I'll get to The Last Jedi in a bit when we do it, but some of his little facial nuances and that he does are just phenomenal. The guy can act just using his eyebrows. And I think you see a lot of that in that scene as well with Snoke for the first time. So, yeah.
What else did you think about Snoke? Did you think that this was going to be like a new emperor?
Yeah, essentially that's what I'm saying. I think, you know, to me, expositionally, just knowing Star Wars and kind of understanding the lore to a degree, he was the emperor and Kylo was Vader, and that didn't need anything else at that point. You know, literally, and until we had the prequel trilogy, who was the emperor? There's nothing else really in those movies that say anything else. You know, in hindsight, because we have the history and we have the story, we kind of fill in those gaps ourselves now. But if you actually think about the OT, when it came out, they never explained who the Emperor was. He's just called the Emperor. So in your head, you go, well, he's the Emperor, isn't he? He's the big boss man.
He also
higher than an emperor, is there?
Yeah.
You know, like,
at that point too, when they're in that room with that hologram, you know, he reveals that, you know, Kylo is a Solo.
Yeah. Han Solo. Yeah.
So the whole Han and Rey connection aboard the Falcon when they're sitting in the cockpit, that's really quite something on the way to Maz's castle. When they're flying through and she's talking about, you know, parts of the ship and just the way he looks at her, that's where, again, we got a lot of fan theories, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, that was the thing I picked. I mean, this is obviously Rian Johnson deleting things that were set up. I think JJ will bring a lot of it back. I don't think he's scared to. So. I don't think he's scared to. I think he's got the cojones enough to turn around and go, no, I put it in there for a reason, and I'll retread those story beats. When I watched that, that's what I picked up on most, and that's what I think I came out of that film questioning more than anything, was their relationship, because there is far too much there for it to be nothing. You know, even down to the bit where he gives her the look, and then when he comes out, when they're on the outside of the Falcon on Takodana, he hands her the blaster.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, Han, we were saying on the last one that, you know, Han's obviously over helpful. He always wants to do the right thing. But there was more to that scene than just giving her a gun. He didn't give Finn one. You know, he specifically was talking to her. Then he offers her a job. And then we've got Maz's castle when Maz turns to him and says, "Who's the girl?" And then it cuts. That isn't.
There's something there. There is always something there.
That's put there for a reason. Otherwise, it's a pointless thread.
Well, again, a little bit later on, we get the same conversation where, when Maz is showing Han the saber hilt, she says, "This is for another time." And I do hope that we do get the other time, the time when we can actually hear where she got that from. Meanwhile, whilst they're in the cockpit, though, we see Chewie and Finn wrestling a little bit, and then later on, Finn is talking to Han, and Rey says, "Oh, this is Finn, and he's a member of the Resistance," and he gives Finn that look, and then the hologram table comes on, and then he's mucking about with the training ball. I mean, giving us that from Abrams was something else too. Which really is, I am a fan.
Yeah, this is going back to what I was saying about the fan service. How I think JJ did it right. That training ball, that's just a throwaway thing. It doesn't matter if you don't know those other films like we do. It doesn't give or take anything away. It doesn't take you out of the moment. But it's a nice little thing for us. I mean, I remember watching that and chuckling to myself as soon as he said, "What's this?" and he chucked it. They're good little moments, good little. Well,
the same way as well. The same way that the Falcon was rebuilt beautifully for Solo. The team built that Falcon absolutely perfect, didn't they? I mean, in the making of, Harrison talks about the switches and they're not working properly. There was no springs in them. There wasn't a budget, that kind of stuff. And they said, no, it's all working perfectly. And it's exactly the same. He said, it's exactly the same. And he was really astonished at the detail. And in that making of featurette, you get to see just how amazing that looks. And when John Boyega walks out on the base and he sees the Falcon there and he runs up the ramp and looks at it, it's just, I mean, JJ did such a phenomenal job and given us actual props.
Yeah, that's what I say about the practical effects.
Practical effects.
This is what made it feel more Star Wars to me than anything for a while. But I also give credit to whatever JJ did for this movie regarding Harrison Ford. Because Harrison Ford's always been one of those, hasn't he? He's very dry, he's very sardonic, he's very quick to anger as well. He's always been one of those that's been quite outspoken about his feelings about Star Wars. He just doesn't really care. Whether or not that's true or not, and it's just
I don't think it's true. I think that's an act.
Yeah.
Sure.
But he's changed his tone quite publicly with these last few movies.
Yes.
I think he seems to be enjoying it a lot more, and I don't know if that's age, and he's just thinking, do you know what, this has made me. I've got to kind of roll with the punches here. But he seems more into the franchise now than he ever has done, and maybe that's because he's free of it now, and he can enjoy it. But it's one of those. I see Harrison Ford seems to enjoy being part of this now.
The next scene we get to see is where Kylo is sitting in that dark room talking about the pull to the light and show me the power of darkness, grandfather, and I will finish what you started. And then we see the helmet.
In the ashes, yeah.
Yeah. Just laying there. It's just... Again, we don't know how he obtained that.
Yeah. Again, these are all things, aren't they, that Rian Johnson...
But does it really matter? I don't know if that really matters.
No, and I think
it's like anything, isn't it? He's a kind of Indiana Jones type character. He wants to get all the props.
At the end of the day, he's a fanboy. He's what me and you are. Yeah. You're searching for a certain annual at the moment, and you will find it because you want it. And that's what he this guy, and you're just a guy from East Sussex that's just looking for an annual. This is a guy that controls the whole First Order army. He's got resources. If he wants it, he'll get it. Yeah, it's like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
do you think as well, going back to Maz's castle when she's sitting with Han, there is history between them two. I mean, she's met Chewie a few times and calls Chewie
boyfriend. Yeah.
I love that scene though. I mean, again, a little bit of a shout out to the cantina.
Yeah. But, that again, another classic Star Wars movie.
Love that tune, man. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that to me was right. That was the cantina music, or the Jabba's Palace-esque song of this movie. Going on quickly onto The Last Jedi, I really didn't like that music that was playing in the casino.
Wasn't catchy, was it?
No, it wasn't catchy. And it takes me out of the soundtrack. Listening to the soundtrack, I that song comes on and I will skip it because it just doesn't work for me. However, the rest of the soundtrack is actually really good. Yeah, it's really good. But The Force Awakens, like I say, it's one of those that it did a lot right, a hell of a lot right. It's soundtrack wise, visual effects wise, acting. It's one of the best we've ever had. It really is. Some
of the best sound in this film is when Rey goes down the steps into the lower levels, and then we get this premonition. Is it a premonition? Is it a flashback? I mean, what would you call that when she touches the saber? It's the Luke in the cave, isn't it? Mm-hmm. This is what it is. Luke going into that forest on Dagobah. It's the Force, I think, getting in touch. It's almost like the astral plane, I believe. It's like when she's on Acto and she's with Luke sitting on that rock. Yeah. Connecting with the Force. And this is obviously a big thing to connect within the Force, isn't it? It's Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. And if she is, who obviously she's being built up to be as this new Jedi, the Force has its design. It wants her, and this is the moment where I think the story really kicks off for her, that she's in it for life now. She's in it for good. There's no walking away. That lightsaber's found her. The Force picks its chosen ones, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. I mean, you look at Anakin. If Shmi is to be believed, then yeah, the Force wanted him, and the Force made him. But yeah, I think this is the point where I don't think it was. Obviously, it's not by luck that Han Solo found her, that Han Solo picked her up, took her to Maz. That was all the Force, I believe, at this point. This is her being pulled there, the pull of the Force, to that lightsaber. And that moment where she has that vision, or whatever you want to call it, is the start of that hero's journey for her. Yeah. That's the point where she suddenly realizes this is a lot bigger than she could ever imagine. She's all starstruck, and she's doing that fangirl thing of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker. Oh my God, this is amazing. You're Han Solo, like the Millennium Falcon. Then she gets down into that room in Maz's castle, and that's when she comes up as a different person from now. And she knows that stuff is about to get real. Yeah, well, the next get real scene is Nazi Hux. Standing in front of those First Order. How cool is that? That's an amazing scene. Then we get to see the Starkiller base, its power, blowing up those planets. It's just an awesome scene. And that scene where Kylo is standing and you see it pass in front of him, and the camera pans across him, is just a beautiful shot. Yeah. It's phenomenal. I'm a massive fan of Domhnall Gleeson anyway, and the Gleesons in general. I've been a big fan of Brendan Gleeson since 28 Days Later, and Harry Potter movies as Mad Eye Moody. And Dredd, Domhnall Gleeson in that, isn't he? He's really good in that. And I tell you what else I watched last weekend was Peter Rabbit. Oh, what a beautiful film! And it is amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those beautifully quaint British movies, just like Paddington and that. Yeah. But yeah, and I really enjoyed Domhnall Gleeson in that as well. He played a great McGregor there. It was almost the Hux level of psychosis. When he was shouting his mouth off on that podium, you get some of that there. He does it so well. Who would have thought two podcasters who are absolutely massive Star Wars fans would mention Peter Rabbit? Oh yeah, well, you got to give a chance to everything, mate, because some things out there are beautifully quaint, aren't they? They are indeed. Yeah. That castle attack, going back, that was pretty something amazing, because we get the whole traitor. We get Finn with a lightsaber. We get Chewie and Han and Han taking his bowcaster. Can I have a go with that? Yeah. I find it hard to believe, of all the years they've been together, that's the first time he's had a go at that. Yeah. But again, it is a real nod to us fans that was just such an incredible incredible moment, and we get Rey and Kylo in the woods, and that again was just tense scene. That really tense.
Yeah, that's where you first see their connection.
Yeah,
isn't it? When he's got her frozen with the Force, he could have struck her down at that moment, but I think Kylo knows he needs her. As soon as he meets her, he knows there's
something
more to
about
Rey.
that girl.
Yeah, there's something about that girl, and he wants her. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't know what it is. But this is a guy that wants to be all powerful.
And his connection to the Force that has joined.
Yeah, he would strike anyone down that gets in his way of his goals,
but not
apart from her. And I don't think he can. And it's infuriating for him. And Adam Driver does that so well. Those little, it's tearing him apart. Literally, he doesn't understand why he can't just dispose of this girl and get on with it.
I think what was incredibly clever with the writing, though, is that once the X-Wings arrive, that the next Rebel transport that lands brings Leia.
Yeah.
And we get that reunion that makes us just wonder how long that's been, that time passing between when they last saw each other.
Yeah. And that was a kick in the teeth, wasn't it? As a fan, you're sitting there, because obviously you're thinking, all the way through it, thinking, well, this is great, I'm seeing Han Solo, but where's Leia? Why are they not together? Surely they're, well, he's got a son. We know that Ben's his son because it's already been said at this point.
She's just missed him.
Yeah, so what's going on? Like, why? And when they turn up and they're not together, I was genuinely saddened at that moment. I'm like, oh man, not that and Leia.
That moment, I actually did cry when they saw each other. I was really in tears, and again, bloody C-3PO just stepping in the way once again.
Yeah.
But again, that's the beauty of this film, is it has all of the quips and traits that all the others have had. So going on from that moment, mate, tell us what else lights your flames in this movie.
It lights my flames in this movie.
So going on from there,
I am not
the wood scene between Kylo and Rey.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The clincher for this movie, for me, there are two scenes that I love more than any. That's the bridge with Han Solo. Because as fans, we would kind of had this moment ruined for us. We knew that Han was going to die in this movie. Obviously, we say we knew. We had a good, strong feeling that Han was going to die in this movie. Because we'd heard this, that, and the other, when he walked onto that bridge, in a way, for the first time ever, I think I was kind of glad that it's been spoiled for me. Mm-hmm. Because the tension was there. I'm thinking, this is it.
Just before that happened, though, we get this fantastic bout of humour that comes from Han with the whole, that's not how the Force works. And the coat bit, you're cold.
Yeah, that's called out, yeah.
All that lovely lightness that happens before that. And then it takes us into this very dark place. And knowing that when they're split up, something is going to happen. When Chewie goes one way and Han goes another to set the explosives.
This is it. And this whole scene, for me.
It goes very quiet. The
does.
Soundtrack goes very quiet.
And he walks across, and when he shouts Ben, that's raw. I love it. There's so much emotion. There's Ben across the
beautiful colour at that point too.
And you see him walking across, and it's almost like Dead Man Walking. At that point, there is no coming back. Whatever is going to happen to Ben or Han is happening at this moment. He's walking across a quite dangerous platform, no safety precautions in place whatsoever there. He's walking across that platform to Ben, and this is the confrontation between a father and son that they haven't had in years. This is something that's been building up, and this is the end game. And when he's standing there and he was saying to him, I know what I've got to do, but I need your help to do it.
This had a kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi moment for me, where he glances across to Luke and knows that he has to let go for Luke to progress, to fulfill his destiny. And I think this is where a lot of the fan theories about, well, was it a case of letting go and almost, what would you call it? Suicide? I don't know.
Giving in. There's the theories that obviously that Han set that lightsaber off, isn't there?
Yeah.
regardless of what happens there.
I think that was Kylo.
I think it was Kylo, and I don't think, I think he was playing his father as well. Even at that point, he was going to kill him. It didn't matter. Regardless of whether or not he's his father,
he wouldn't have walked out.
He hates Han. There is no denying that he hates him. With his mother, it's a different story. There's more to that than there is the other characters with him.
Well, we know from Solo that he'll just go where the money flows.
Yeah.
But he probably abandoned him when he most needed him.
Yeah, the bit that got to me more than anything in this scene isn't the Han Solo dying. It was Chewie shooting him.
Oh.
Because the repercussions of this, you think about it, this is essentially his nephew. He's seen this. He's seen this young boy grow up. Chewie's probably had him sitting on his knee. He's played with him as a child and read him stories and, brushed his head when he's sleeping. This is, Chewie owes
as we heard
Han
in
a
Solo,
life debt.
nothing quite snuggling up in a
in a Wookiee's
lap.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He's seen this boy grow up, and his best friend, his life partner,
soulmate.
as it were, his soulmate with Han, has just been murdered. The conflict inside Chewie at that point must be so raw. I mean, he shoots Ben. He doesn't shoot to kill, because I think something holds him back there. He shoots him and he hurts him. But we've seen the power of that bowcaster.
Yeah.
And if he'd wanted to take his head off, Chewie could have taken his head off. And I think it was so, you hear that roar from him when Han dies. He doesn't know what to do at that point. How can I kill this young boy that is the son of two of my best friends? And, he's just killed my best friend though. Like, what do I do? And that to me, when I was sitting there, that brought more of a tear to my eye than Han actually dying, was the conflict that Chewie was going through. Because how do you deal with that situation?
Mm-hmm.
And that was beautiful. I mean,
fantastic acting by Daisy Ridley as well on the top.
Yeah. Really, that whole scene is just amazing. Yeah.
The change of light as well was very, very profound. So we get the wood fight. We get Finn into a coma. We get Chewie coming to pick up Rey, and we get Chewie really, suffering with his loss. There obviously was a lot of fans very disappointed that when Rey meets Leia, that she doesn't comfort Chewie but hey, even JJ admits that was a mistake. Perhaps he could have.
Yeah, I didn't like that bit. I actually picked that up. I mean, I don't like to say first time round with these things, I don't usually pick up on them. But as soon as she walked off of that ship and run over to Leia, I was like, hang on. This is a bit moody. Like, why are you leaving Chewie out of this? But yeah, like you say, he realised his mistake there. So, at least give him credit where credit's due for that.
And so Rey goes off with, obviously we get to see the big reveal with the map and Rey on her journey to Ahch-To. Now, how do you feel that film finished? I mean, for me, it's probably one of the greatest cliffhangers.
Yeah.
And I feel a little, I can really feel what Mark Hamill must have felt, because when he was doing the read through, I don't know if you've seen
he
read the whole thing out. He read the whole thing out with the cast all playing their parts, and obviously he must have finished and thought, "Hang on a minute,
I
haven't said a word in this."
Yeah. I loved it. To be honest with you, I think
it's perfect. Wasn't
the
it?
story was touched on enough using the characters they had, and I think by putting Luke in there, it would have just been shoehorning him in for no reason. And it gave us something to look forward to with the next film. We'd just come off the bat of seeing an amazing Star Wars movie, and yet we're still yet to see Luke Skywalker in it properly.
And then when we do,
that's cool.
Just the most phenomenal stare, one of pain, guilt, sadness, confusion.
That gave us what, a 2 years of conversation to mull over of what Luke was going through at that moment. So
I love the pan up as well after that as well, the way the camera pans up above the island, and then we get the credits. Yeah. So on to the following film, The Last Jedi.
Reach out. What do you see?
Light. Darkness. A balance.
It's so much bigger. I only know one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end.
Okay, so the opening scene of The Last Jedi, we get to see the size of that ship, man, and the First Order is, still phenomenally strong.
Yeah.
And Poe attacking the Dreadnought. Now, there's one scene in that is probably a split second that I absolutely adore.
I know what it is as well.
The eyes.
The eyes. I was going to say the eyes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny you say that. I'm going to touch on Solo here because when I was talking to you off air about this, about Solo, and you said that they did it again in Solo, they actually did it twice. Because I picked up on it quite early in the movie and I went, oh, there it is. When I watched it again, I was like,
when
there
he's
it
in
is.
the speeder.
Yeah, and then they do it again later on. And you're right, it's a really, really cool little shot, especially with Poe. It's a wallpaper moment, isn't it? It's one of those screenshots where you go, yeah, that's awesome. There's so much emotion.
The
there.
eyes are just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So we get to see Adrian Edmondson on board.
I didn't even realise it's him the first time round. It wasn't until someone said it to me. I was like, you what? And then when I watched it again, I was like, that is amazing. I mean, I like the guy anyway as an actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does that really well. I mean, that's what you want, isn't it? From Empire or First Order officers, British actors. And
he was the sort of the less camp one of them all. I mean, I thought the whole on board those ships, it was all a little bit campy.
Yeah, I would have loved it if he was just playing Eddie. just did Eddie in an officer's outfit. I would have loved that. Yeah.
Yeah, or a dangerous brother. Dangerous.
Love it.
Yeah, so we see a shot of Leia from behind her head, and just that, you've got permission to go, go and blow up the Dreadnought, and we get to see those bombers, that bomber run. Did you like all those scenes?
Yes.
I thought they were a little bit slow, didn't you think?
The bombers.
Everything else moves fairly quickly. Even B-wing bombers in the OT move pretty quick. Those did seem to drag on a little.
They did drag on a little bit. I've got no issue with these bombers for what they did and the purpose they served. A lot of people are saying, well, that's just silly because bombs in space. Yeah, well, we can explain a lot of things away in Star Wars that are completely ridiculous, can't we?
Yeah, they would have floated away, if anything, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, it depends. Are they magnetised? I mean, if something's propelled at a speed, it will continue in space, won't it? So,
I suppose so.
I mean, regardless. I mean,
we do get that beautiful shot, though, of Rose's sister. And again, that's a fantastic shot.
Yeah.
Of when she's lying there on that.
And she's kicking the railing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Tense.
Really very cool. Very tense.
Moment, yeah. I loved this whole scene. I thought it was a great way of... It's what Star Wars does, isn't it? It's exactly what Empire did as well. And this is why I think you're right that it's going to be echoed in the same way in a few years' time, especially when we get the conclusion to this. People's opinions will change on it. That we come out of Force Awakens and everything was hunky-dory. And then we expect to go into this movie with like a nice quiet start, and it kicks off big time. The First Order aren't taking no prisoners. They are more peeved than they've ever been in their, in their regime, because of what has happened, and they're coming at them with the full force, and they're still overpowered. The good guys are still overpowered at this point. No matter what you do, you can take down Starkiller Base or a Death Star, whatever you want.
They're on the run.
They're on the run. They're well outmatched, and
they lost a lot of lives in this long drawn out section where they're being chased. A lot of those smaller smaller ships getting blown up.
One of my favourite parts about The Last Jedi is actually the story. Now, a lot of people have a problem with this, but I thought it was a great departure from standard Star Wars storytelling. It was a chase movie.
Yeah,
it was Duel by Steven Spielberg. That's what it was. This small outfit running away from this big gargantuan terror that they just cannot outrun, and they are essentially screwed. And I thought that was a great dynamic for this movie. I was like, this isn't what I expected. I mean, we went in there expecting Death Star 3 or Starkiller Base 2 or, all these different ideas. And we didn't have a big bad spaceship. We had a chase movie, and that's what it was, and that put...
We get a chase movie, we get Canto Bight, and we get...
Yeah, well, let's not...
And that's
worry about Canto Bight.
We get to see some new characters too, don't we? We get this rebel officer. I hate to say it, with an extremely large nose. I thought I quite liked her character, and then we get to see I've forgotten the actress's name from Jurassic Park.
Laura Linney, is it?
Yeah, see her character, and I liked her actually. I thought she was good.
Yeah.
And this whole issue with Poe was rather brilliant. We get to see Leia almost obliterated by Kylo, and
I did like the get your head out the cockpit.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah, I do love their relationship in this, because he is
almost
Han Solo, isn't he? Yeah, she sees so much of Han in him. And that's essentially what he is as an archetype of a character as well, isn't he?
Yeah, she's the mother to them all, isn't she?
Yeah, and you can see them two's chemistry, because I've seen some beautiful behind the scenes shots of Oscar Isaac and Carrie Fisher with the dancing and everything, and I'm sure you've seen it. And he is so lucky to have that relationship with Carrie Fisher before her passing.
Was it something like 27 slaps as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, she had good fun doing each one of them. Yeah, yeah. And you've got to be good friends and good chemistry to be able to get away with that and make it so believable, their relationship. Because I love Oscar Isaac, but I do think Poe is a pretty much one-dimensional character. He's not a big thing for me in these movies.
As he said to JJ, like, I've died in every film, please let me survive just a little bit longer than my character is written in the script. And his character was formed from that conversation that they had. I mean, who knows what we would have got.
I'm glad of that, because I'm hoping that in this next film we get to see Oscar Isaac doing what Oscar Isaac does best. He is a formidable actor, and he is someone to really watch in this generation. Ex Machina, he is sublime in that movie.
It took me a long time to realise he was the same guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like the X-Men films, but even as Apocalypse, he may not be what people wanted from Apocalypse, but he owns the hell out of that role. He does. And yeah, I mean, Ex Machina really cemented him in a great role for me, because that is one of my all-time favourite movies.
Alongside Don Gleeson.
Yeah, who was again stellar in that movie. But yeah, he's a chameleon, Oscar Isaac, to me, and I think he really gets underutilised in the Star Wars films thus far. We don't know what's coming in 9, and I'm sure with the setup that we get for him in this film, especially with Carrie's passing, I think we're going to see something quite special from him now, especially if there's a time jump.
Said, didn't she? She said the future is with BB-8 and Finn and Poe and Rey.
Yeah. And
hopefully more Chewie, and R2 and 3PO. And it does make, obviously with the speculation of what's to come with these trilogy of films, I do hope that these characters continue their paths. I really do. So we get the Canto Bight, we get the mission, we get to see a little bit of Maz saying where to go. It's not everyone's cup of tea, that scene.
All of those parts you've just said are the bits that I don't like from this movie.
Yeah.
I can forgive Carrie Poppins. I can forgive that scene. I didn't like it.
Honestly, I love that scene.
Didn't like it the first time I watched it. It really took me out. When I went in to watch it the second and third and fourth time, because I know it's coming, it doesn't bother me anymore. I understand what they're trying to purvey there with storytelling, so I can accept it. I just don't like the way it's kind of done. That's my only issue. I think if I really put it down to the grassroots, it's not what happens, it's how it happens.
I think
I don't like the way it's shot.
Really made that is if once she'd got blasted into space, that Luke picked up on that and then said Leia and woke her up. If that had been in there.
Do you know what, mate? Exactly that. You've nailed it on the head for me there. There's no hint at what's going on, and for anyone that's not really following these stories like us, you're going to look at it and think, what the hell is going on here? You know, she's in deep space. She should be dead. And I mean, yeah, you can do all these nerdy arguments. Oh, the vacuum from the ship is going out into space, so therefore, no, it doesn't matter. We can suspend disbelief for these. They're fantasy. They're sci-fi fantasy. That could
easily have happened when, you know, after Rey has told. I don't know if it's just before Rey tells Luke about Han. But once he's in that heart contemplating, I would have liked that moment to have happened where he suddenly connects to the Force.
I would have liked it even more if it was Han that said it to her and not Luke.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we could have got a hint that maybe everyone's got a little bit of the Force in them. It's whether or not you can tap into that power. And, you know, she's been living with Han for all these years. Their son is obviously Force sensitive. Luke is Force sensitive, you know. Okay, Han's married into this family of Force sensitive people, but
or even if Kylo had done it, because obviously he stopped that from happening.
You know, that would have been more impactful if it had been Han
that TIE fighter out of the way, and then he puts his mother out there.
I need to go back to that.
And then it's his mother, and then
yeah. And exactly, if it was one of them two doing it, I think it would have been a hell of a lot more impactful. But that would have changed that dynamic of that scene, and I would have probably enjoyed it a lot more. But like I say, moving forward, I can just accept it. I just didn't like the whole Canto Bight thing. I do want to just go back, though, because you just made me remember something there. That is Adam Driver. It is Oscar-winning best. That guy will win one day. He will come home with one of those big golden statues. Because that scene...
He does something with his mouth, doesn't he? When he's emotional, his mouth does...
I don't know what he does, but his face just contorts in the most minute, minuscule, millimetre ways.
And his eyes watered at that moment as well. His fingers on the button, just fantastic.
It's phenomenal. I mean, I saw that in the trailer, and obviously you see a little bit of it, but when I saw that in the movie, I was blown away by him.
I think any main character or any character in the Star Wars movies knows how important these films are, and I think that's where the passion is.
Yeah,
it's when you see these actors, we take it for granted that they're just actors in our Star Wars movie, but I think they really feel the passion for this, and they know how important it is, and we get the best out of these actors, even though these are films for kids and emotionally 14 adults.
Yeah,
and they play the parts.
Represent, shout out.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, it would have been lovely to have got those connections happening, but alas. We then, you know, what do we get next? We get where Rey and Luke are training on Acto. Do you like all of that and the
I love
the
every single bit of it. I can accept everything that happens on Acto. I thought was phenomenal.
What do you think of the deleted scenes that we could have had in there?
I haven't seen them all, mate. Unfortunately, no, I don't actually own the Blu-ray of this yet. But we'll get to the reasons.
I can see why he cut them out, but they're still really, really great deleted scenes.
I'm cool with everything that happens in Acto. With Luke, people seem to have this issue. The guy has been through some crap. He's seen some stuff, and he doesn't want it to happen again. And he does what I think 90% of people would do: remove himself from the equation.
Give up.
You know, give up.
Disconnect.
He's the last Jedi. What more? You know, everything he's tried to do has always gone wrong.
It's a form of depression, and he's suppressing the Force.
Yeah.
He's depressed about it.
If he leaves everyone alone, they'll be safe without him around, because he has been the root of the problems in the galaxy since he become something. You know, his father was after him. Everyone wanted him to become something else. He's got this power that nobody else can sort of understand.
And who's the one person who really believes in him, apart from Rey, is Yoda.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a very beautiful moment.
I called that. I was sitting there. We was going into the cinema with Charlie and his girlfriend, and so we did our. So what we're going to see here? What do you think? Let's do some things. And I said to him, I was like, right. I said, well, I think Leia's going to die. I said, and we're going to see Yoda. They were my two that I come up with. And I said to him, Yoda will be in this. And he went, what do you mean Yoda will be in it? As soon as those little green ears popped up on that screen, he punched me in the arm. He was like, damn it, man.
Strangely,
how'd you know?
Do you remember the leaked photographs of when Rey is training on the rocks, and there's a little kind of rock formation, and everyone said, oh, look, that's Yoda on the rock, right?
Yeah.
Rock. I think that's the first moment I thought, actually, yeah, Yoda could be in this.
Yeah. See,
so
that's what I thought. I thought he's communed with Ben before, from Obi-Wan Kenobi, in The Force. We've seen that. Why wouldn't it be Yoda? And let's be honest, who's going to be easier to bring back? Alec Guinness or Yoda? Well, of course Yoda, it's a puppet. So, I mean, it was never in doubt for me that if someone was going to come to Luke,
do you think that puppet
as a
worked?
vision, yeah, it was beautiful.
It was kind of weird, wasn't it? Because it was kind of a New Hope Yoda. It wasn't quite as old as Empire Yoda, and it wasn't quite as young as Sith Yoda. It was just in between that, wasn't it?
I loved it. And that's what I'm saying. I think Yoda being in it was great because he was the one Jedi that I think could come along and really give Luke a kick up the backside that he needed. Because we know Yoda doesn't muck around. He's no airs and graces with him. He'll tell you how he feels. You know, Obi-Wan's always been a bit airy-fairy and a bit nondescript with his sentiments, hasn't he? He's always been from a certain point of view. You know, exactly. Like, you know, Yoda comes down, he goes like, mate, get your crap together and go do what you've got to do, right? Stop being a little, you know, so-and-so and do it. And that's why I liked it, because he really did give Luke a talking down at that moment. He was nice about it. You know, he's like, oh, I'm going to burn this tree with the books. He's like, all right, then, there you go, it's done. Right, now what are you going to do about it?
It also shows that, again, another element of Jedi's power.
Yeah.
What they can tap into. What about the multiple Rey reflection? What do you make of that?
I wasn't a big fan of that. There was, I think, some artistic license in this film that was used by Rian Johnson that was slightly out of kilter with the rest of the Star Wars.
Do you think this, again, is another kind of be yourself, know who you are?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there was, I understand what he was trying to purvey with these things. I just don't think they fit with the aesthetic of Star Wars necessarily. Not that that's a bad thing, because I'm always up for something new. I just didn't really, it's not that it took anything away for me. It's just, it didn't really do anything for me either. You know, we got the scene in The Force Awakens, you know, down in Maz's basement with the lightsaber. That was fantastic. That was a great way of doing a connection with the Force, you know, sort of vision. And that's what he was doing now, but it just didn't feel the same to me. It just didn't really gel in the same way. There is a lot of things I don't like about The Last Jedi, but I still think it's a phenomenal Star Wars movie. It's well above the you know.
I love all the connections between Kylo and Rey as well. When those scenes where they're touching and connecting. Do you think Snoke was really behind those?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I do think Snoke was behind those. Down to the water on his face as well. There was really something quite different now with the Force, and I like the way Rian Johnson's utilised that for this movie and brought it forward. Like we say, with Yoda bringing the lightning down and actually having a corporeal sort of form where he can actually hit Luke with his stick, down to these projections between, you know, Kylo and Rey. It's given us some different stuff with the Force. I mean, none of this stuff is actually far out, because we've seen some of it in Legends before.
What we don't know, though, is how Snoke learned these skills.
Yeah.
We don't know that. So when she gives up on Luke and just says, right, enough of this, I don't want you connecting anymore, and she goes off to go and find Kylo, we get the confrontation between herself and Snoke. And this is where we get to see Andy Serkis at his finest, I think.
Have you seen the scene? You obviously have seen the scene with Andy Serkis doing Snoke rather than the capture. It's brilliant, isn't it? He is something else, Mr. Serkis.
He's the new Frank Oz, isn't he? I suppose.
Yeah, for this generation. Yeah. For performance capture especially.
Yeah. What a phenomenal fight scene that is.
Yeah. There isn't much in this movie in the way of action with regards to physical combat, is there? I mean, a lot of it is space battles. We don't really get the lightsaber scene at the end of Force Awakens is beautiful, and we don't really get anything else like that up until this point, and we don't get anything afterwards really either, do we? Because I mean, even in the Force Awakens, like you say, you get Finn fighting the stormtrooper traitor and all that. You get a lot of physical combat. And in
apart
this
from the scenes from out the window, this is all pretty much practical, isn't it? I mean, the curtains on fire and everything else, I'm sure, that was actually happening because it looked extremely real. And then really this is where it really started to really become an incredible scene for me, was seeing the sparks flying. And
there was one thing with this scene that I think was a little bit lackluster, and that's the soundtrack. As good as the soundtrack is for this movie, this was the moment we could have had
something more explosive,
a Star Wars defining moment. We could have had, the Duel of Fate soundtrack, for instance. Yes, okay, it's the greatest lightsaber battle we have in Star Wars is the Duel of Fates between.
I think it could have been slightly Japanese.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Well, in Solo,
Fizz Nest.
Yeah,
yeah,
really. We could have done something like that there.
Yeah,
but a phenomenal fight scene, and how it all comes to pass with them fighting over the hill.
The choreography in that scene is sublime.
It's isn't it?
Lord knows how many times they had to film that to get that right.
It's bloody fantastic. So we see the hill come apart. We see Rey escape.
Yeah.
And from
we
that
get the moment with Hux, don't we, as well?
We get the moment with Hux, which
ad-libbed by Donald Gleeson.
I remember laughing when I saw that because I saw it straight away. And I thought, he's
going to do
it.
I mean that was all ad-lib again by Donald Gleeson, and fair play to the guy because it's a brilliant little moment. That he's got him cornered, he's on the floor,
the whole
and he's awake.
As well was just brilliant.
The Supreme Leader's dead. Okay, long live the Supreme Leader. It's brilliant. Just shows how Weasley Hux really is. Even if slightly underutilized in this movie, but I'm sure JJ will make up for that as well.
So we get the demise of, the Purple Lady. We get their sad goodbye, and the plan of what was behind it all along that Poe wasn't ready for.
Yeah,
I thought that was very clever, actually.
Yeah,
the way that all came to pass. It's like a sort of a hidden agenda, isn't it?
Yeah.
If A happens, then B goes to plan. I thought it was very, very clever. And then their plan leads them to Crate, and those crystal foxes was one of the first parts of Crate we see, and stunning stuff.
Yeah, really cool.
But I think the most stunning scene again is one of those where we see Leia with that wrap going across her face, very anime style, the way her collar comes across her face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a screenshot. That's a wallpaper.
Yeah. Beautiful woman as well.
Fantastic, yeah. I love the fact that those speeders are all clapped out and...
Yeah, they've just been left there, haven't they?
There, which is
yeah.
Awesome. But we get probably the greatest part of this film, actually, is Luke arriving with knowing that there is no in or out of that base. But Luke arrives, and the dice scene. Again, watching the making of and seeing them do that take. Even Ryan Johnson, when he's watching that, you can see him going, that's very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful stuff.
It's
Nobody really dies, and oh, good God.
a great moment when they two meet again, Leia and Luke. It's a beautiful moment when they see each other, because I think it's quite real for the position they're both in. They've got the Force to commune. They know each other's been okay over these years, regardless of whether or not Leia's known where he is. She knows deep down inside that Luke's okay where he is. So they've kind of had a connection. It's not like they've been lost from each other. And it's kind of like you're right moment, isn't it? It's like that. It's not they've been apart at all. She's like, oh, you're here. Well done. Thanks for turning up finally. There's no real embrace or over the top sentiment moment.
She didn't share the fact that he wasn't there, really there.
No, and she, of course, she knows. You know, she's so.
She knows it's all coming
she's
to
one
an
of the
end.
most clued up people in this whole.
She knows it's all coming
story.
to an end. Her end is nigh as well.
Yeah.
And we get that fantastic confrontation between. Well, I mean, that shot when Luke is walking out of that door on fire is one of my favourite shots of the film.
Yeah.
And the massive blasting of him there, you just think, you know, he's not gonna.
Well, yeah,
he's not gonna
when I
die
was
in that.
watching this, when I was watching this, I was like, how's he getting out of this one? Like, I was like, this is mental, you know? He's just taken down by pretty much half the army of the First Order.
Yeah, I did notice the feet, though. That was one thing I did notice.
I didn't the first time I watched it. That was the thing. Now it's such.
I'd had a couple of cups of coffee before I went to see Last Jedi, so I was extremely alert looking at that, and noticed. Hang on, Kylo is making marks in the salt.
Oh, well done.
Oh God, good God, we've just missed out on Gareth Evans's moment of being in a Star Wars film, as well as one of the troopers on Crate.
Gareth Evans.
Gareth. Oh, come on, Edwards, the director of Rogue One.
Is he in it?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yeah, when all those troopers are in the barracks getting ready to fire on those AT-AT walkers, there he is. He's giving that guy a little glance. He goes, "Oh, salt." That's Gareth Edwards there.
Is it really? Oh wow, okay, that makes more sense now, because otherwise that sort of scene was a little bit weird, wasn't it? Like, yeah. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I noticed that, and I love that the fact that underneath that salt was this bright red earth, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
And you know, See You Around Kid was just.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, you know, a lot of fans who are completely despondent about this film, and there was a huge diversity between those that loved it and hated it. They've got to admit that there are parts of this film that are so brilliantly written, superbly directed. The director of photography did an incredible job. The soundtrack throughout is, well,
on a par.
On a par.
No, it's not the greatest, but it's on a par.
We get as good a Leia as we've ever had. We get a fantastic Rey. We get a fantastic Finn when we get to see him. We get Poe. We get to see signs of Poe in this, what we haven't seen before, and going on to this third film where we're probably going to see, you know, again perhaps General Cameron.
Yeah, but this is exactly where I am, mate. I'm one of those people that you wish people could be, because there is a lot with this movie that I don't like. There is a lot of this movie I don't like, more so than probably most Star Wars movies. But the stuff that they do right, they do better than any other Star Wars movie.
The question I have,
you know,
is during this point when Luke is at one with the Force and we see the arrival of Chewie and Rey, and she lands and she lifts those rocks away from the rear of the base. Is that her, or is that still Luke? Because at that point he's still at one with the Force, isn't he? At that point,
maybe she's projecting as well. Maybe he's taught her that.
Because she seemed rather astonished that and when she says, "What is the Force?" and she was just sort of like
lifting rocks
and stuff. But that was a lot of rocks. I mean, Luke could manage a few on his head
Yeah, yeah. But then I think this is where we're going into the realm of the new Jedi Order. You know, Rey is something else. Maybe she is born of the Force. Maybe she's another Anakin. Maybe she doesn't have parents, and that's where this comes from. She hasn't actually got parents, and those supposed junkers that dropped her off were exactly that. They just found her, and they'd done what they needed with her and left her somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe you got use her for their ill-gotten gains.
You know?
Who knows?
She is literally just a scrum rat that was used by some people and dropped off, and nobody really knows where she comes from.
But I think this is where JJ is going to fill in a lot more gaps.
Yeah.
I think he will. I think he was probably quite despondent from seeing this film and thought, this has undone quite a lot of my good work. Yeah. But don't worry, I'm gonna make sure this all fits back into the right mould.
Like I said, JJ's not scared. JJ is he's not a director that will shy away from this. And I bet, because he originally wasn't doing this movie, was he? And he probably watched The Last Jedi, and this is one of the reasons why he took it on, was because I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this problem, because I can fix this problem, and I can make this what I wanted it to be. And I want to move on here, because this is talking about episode 9. I have this kind of feeling that this news that has broken recently about everything being put on the shelf, not cancelled, on the shelf, which doesn't mean cancelled, it just means on hold while they reevaluate plans. I've got a feeling JJ's probably gone to them and gone, we need more stories here to fix what we've done, because let's be honest, The Last Jedi is a great movie, but it kind of puts a stall on the it's one of those things that the bits that are in there could have been told in half an hour of a movie that gives you so much more. Mm-hmm. And the bits that we didn't need, or the bits that are exposition, i.e. Canto Bight, because let's be honest, it doesn't really bring anything to the story. It brings a bit to characters, but nothing to story.
Unlike Maz's Castle, which gave us a lot more to go on. Exactly,
and I mean this is a scene that a thread of 20 minutes during the movie on Canto Bight, whereas Maz's Castle is all of eight odd minutes in a movie.
And look what it encompasses.
Exactly, and this is what I'm thinking, that maybe JJ said to them, look, I'm doing this movie, that's fine, but we at least need 10 and 11 to finish this story arc off properly without cutting corners. And that's where maybe Disney have turned around and gone, do you know what, I think you're right here. Well, there's so much more we can do. Let's put these on hold and see where we can go with this.
I agree. And I think, as Kathleen Kennedy has said, and what I said earlier, she said there's more stories to come from Rey, BB-8, Finn and Poe. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is a 10. Maybe there is a 10. Maybe.
Do you know what? I would bet money that by the time this movie comes out, we will have news on at least 10 and 11 and maybe 12. There doesn't have to be trilogy. It doesn't have to be that way. This can be one of those open-ended stories where until the point they want to finish it, they don't, they can continue. It's an ongoing saga. That's what a saga is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I think it's one of those that they're reevaluating their plans of where they're pushing the saga forward, because they're probably thinking to themselves right now, this is where the money lies. Even though The Last Jedi was so divisive in its fan base, it still made the money.
Yes,
and these standalone movies haven't made the money that they expect from Star Wars.
Well, Rogue One did extremely well.
Solo is still the 4th biggest grossing movie of this year. So it hasn't done bad. This is what I was going back to when I was saying the other day about it's nothing to do with the amount of money it's taken, it's the amount of money it cost. And I think that really offsets it. And when you look forward for them, they're probably thinking like the big bucks lie in the saga movies. We have got so much more story to tell here with characters that are barely developed because of a strange second part. It's not bad, and it's not the best Star Wars movie we've ever seen. It has, like I say, it says some of the worst Star Wars and some of the best Star Wars elements in movies that we've seen in storytelling. But as a whole, it kind of fits in the middle there. In everyone's list that I know that enjoys it, it kind of sits somewhere in the middle, apart from you, because I know it's very high up for you. But it sits somewhere in the middle on an average, I think. And it's that for me. It's neither bad nor good. It's neither great nor terrible. It serves its purpose, but there's a lot it doesn't need. And I think Disney are probably going, right, we're going to get this film nailed down. We're going to get this filmed, and we're going to see where we can take this story. And then what they'll do is to keep fans happy. Before this comes out, we will get, by the way, 10 comes out in 2 years' time. because I don't think they're going to leave it. This is going to be something that they're going to do the Marvel treatment on now. They're going to go, right, we've got our saga in place. Let's get this as a connected universe. And I think that's probably what they're rethinking right now. We've got some connected stories that work, but how does the Marvel MCU work? Well, we've got this character, this character, this character doing their own thing. But in the saga movies, like the Avengers movies, they join together and do this. So what we're going to do with Star Wars is we're doing 9 and 10, and then in between that we'll release X.
The Adventures of Rey.
Yeah, exactly.
Poe and the Squadron of X-Wings.
Why not?
Finn and his adventures.
Yeah, and it will work. I mean,
BB-8
we can have those characters coming in, crossing over. We can have Rey has to go on a mission to do something for the Jedi Temple, and we can have Kylo Ren mentioned in it. He can even be seen in it, but it doesn't have to be a saga movie per se.
That's if he survives Episode 9.
Exactly. And I mean, I think to be honest, they'd be crazy to get rid of him at this point.
Wouldn't they?
Yeah,
wouldn't they?
He's I love Daisy Ridley. I love her as Rey, especially in The Last Jedi.
I'm fingers crossed that he escapes at the end of this film.
Yeah.
And it does the Vader twisting in the sky in a TIE fighter.
What's to say that he doesn't repent and become the good guy again? But yet he is. There's
a lot of redemption to be done.
Yeah. There's a couple more movies where you can see Kylo being, torn apart by his own failings over the last sort of few years of his life, and trying to help Rey rebuild the Jedi in some capacity. I don't know, but I see they're sitting down at Lucasfilm and reevaluating the future is nothing but a good thing. They are taking the elements of everything that they've done over the last 4 or 5 years. They're going to sit there, they're going to work this out and go, this is what we need to do, because there's nobody that does movies at this moment in time than Disney. They own the box office yearly. They are the biggest corporation on the planet, and they just put that bid in for Fox for 71 billion, and it's pretty much a given now that this is going ahead. If they get this, they own the original rights to A New Hope again. Yeah, there is so much they have got here through doing this, and the chances they've got, the programming for their online platform becomes so much bigger. Disney,
their streaming service is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, this is what I said about when you put in an acquisition like this as a business like Disney, they are obviously going to rejig their plans for everything they own. And that even comes down to the MCU. Now, with the MCU, they're lucky because they're at phase 4 now. We've just had Infinity War.
So when they get Fox, will they own everything that Fox has ever produced? So we get the Alien franchise.
I think it is. Yeah.
We get everything.
I think that even comes down to Avatar, if I'm not mistaken. Buffy, the lot. Yeah, and if they get this, they're going to rejig their plans. And with like the MCU, like I say, they've just had Infinity War. You can change a lot there. You can change timelines at the snap of a fingers, excuse the pun. And you can bring in mutants. You can bring in the X-Men. And it'll be slightly derivative, but it'll work because the MCU is one of those things. It's a beautiful thing where someone can die, but they can come back. It doesn't matter. So that's why it works for that. With Star Wars, they're going to sit there and rejig their plans. They're not too far into this right now to pump the brakes and go, we need to change what we're doing because we now have the chance to do A, B, and C. And
well, everything's fine, situation normal, isn't it? To be honest, because Episode 9's happening, and that's it. That's all we know is a dead cert.
And this is what fans have got to understand as well, mate. If we're going back here to 2013 before The Force Awakens and all that come out, and the only thing we knew we were getting was episodes 7, 8, and 9, you'd be happy with that.
You wouldn't.
But people have been spoiled, and the usual trolls and the usual horrible people on the internet come out of the woodwork, and they have to tear everything apart. Oh, Solo didn't do too well. Yeah, it did fantastic. Rogue One wasn't great. Don't be stupid, Rogue One was one of the best Star Wars movies we've ever had, and in fact, Disney are bringing out some of the best Star Wars movies we've had in 40 years. So,
agreed. Solo's still on at cinemas all around this country as well. It hasn't left the cinemas yet.
No, and we've got a lot of money coming on home release, because I tell you what, I don't own The Last Jedi on Blu-ray, but the day Solo comes out on Blu-ray, I'm there buying it.
100%.
Yeah. And this is from someone that when I first watched Solo, I wasn't that big a fan. I it wasn't that I disliked it. I said to you how I felt. You can go back and listen to my feelings on Solo.
I think home release is going to change your mind even more so towards what a great film and standalone movie it is. It is a fantastic film. We've been extremely lucky to have Irvin Kershner to direct Empire and George to direct A New Hope. We've been extremely lucky to have JJ and Rian Johnson for the Star Wars films, and again we're going to have JJ for episode 9. The only director whose name I've completely forgotten is the director for Return of the Jedi.
Richard Marquand, yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Who gave us another phenomenal Star Wars film. Pretty much wraps up our little Star Wars special of 3 episodes. We have previously talked about Solo. We have encompassed a little bit of Solo into this. Thank you very much for joining both of us for this little George Lucas and Star Wars special. I do hope you've enjoyed our little kind of chat without getting too heavy on any particular thing. We haven't dismissed
You all know Star Wars well enough to not worry about the ins and outs and the nitty gritty. This is two people talking about their love, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, we didn't need to go too heavy into it. No. We're just chatting about these films as we usually do.
And I can assure you, it probably won't be the last time we talk about Star Wars.
I think we've kind of, we probably knocked at least 2 hours off what we could have possibly talked about.
Next episode, that's the holiday special, right? We're doing.
That's right. Yeah. We're going to get deep into that. It's deeper meanings and it's philosophy and myth.
And Carrie Fisher singing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Strange cooking in the kitchen and all that. So please give us some comments on our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.
Send us an email. Just ask questions. It doesn't matter what they're about. Jeremy. Best sandwich. I don't mind. Yeah, anything.
Our iTunes page. We'd love you to go to our iTunes page and leave us a review. And thank you very much for listening. We'll see you again next time. I've been Adam.
I've been Andy. And may the force be with you.